When Amanda Peterson died, the world assumed it was just another tragic Hollywood story: fame, drugs, and heartbreak. But her family knew something didn't add up. She had been clean, trying to rebuild her life, yet something dark from her past had been quietly gnawing at her for nearly 3 decades. Hidden journals, letters she never sent, secrets she carried since she was just 15. These were the pieces of a puzzle that no one outside her family could imagine. By the end of this story, you'll understand that what destroyed Amanda Peterson wasn't Hollywood, fame, or even drugs. It was something far more haunting, and it had been hiding in plain sight for years. Alright, let's start at the beginning. If you were alive in the late 80s, you knew Amanda Peterson. I mean, come on, she was everywhere. That smile, that laugh, that girl next door charm that made every teenage guy fall in love and every girl want to be her best friend. But here's the thing, Amanda wasn't some Hollywood kid born into the business. She was just a regular girl from Greeley, Colorado. Born July 8, 1971, she was the youngest of 3 kids in what seemed like the perfect American family. Her dad, Dr. James Peterson, was an ENT specialist, ear, nose, throat doctor. Her mom Sylvia was a homemaker who supported her kids' dreams. Now, Amanda's talent showed up early. And I mean early. At just 7 years old, she was already on stage playing Gretel in The Sound of Music at the University of Northern Colorado. 7 years old, guys. Most kids that age are still figuring out how to tie their shoes, and Amanda's already performing in front of hundreds of people. But even then, even as this bright, talented little girl, there were subtle signs that something wasn't quite right. Her family would later remember moments of withdrawal, times when Amanda would just go quiet, lost in her own thoughts. At the time, they figured it was just part of being an artistic kid, Creative types are supposed to be moody, right? They had no idea what was coming. So yeah, Amanda's career takes off pretty quickly. She starts doing commercials, TV appearances, the whole child actor pipeline. By 1985, she lands a role in Explorers alongside Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix. Not a bad start, right? Then comes 1986 with A Year in the Life, and suddenly Amanda Peterson is a name people recognize. But it's 1987 that changes everything. Can't Buy Me Love hits theaters, and Amanda Peterson becomes America's sweetheart practically overnight. Now, here's some behind-the-scenes stuff that's pretty wild. Patrick Dempsey, who played her love interest, was so committed to the role that he actually learned to ride a motorcycle just for one scene. Amanda had to train with actual cheerleaders in Tucson, Arizona, for weeks to nail those cheerleading sequences. The girl was dedicated, no question about it. The movie was a massive hit. Amanda was suddenly the girl every guy wanted to date and every girl wanted to be. Magazine covers, interviews, the whole 9 yards. She was living the dream that millions of kids fantasize about. But while she was dazzling audiences on screen, no one knew what shadows she was carrying from her past. And those shadows, they were about to get a whole lot darker. Okay, here's where this story takes a really dark turn, and honestly, it's hard to talk about. But it's crucial to understanding what happened to Amanda. In 1986, right around the time she was filming some of her biggest projects, Amanda was sexually assaulted. She was just 15 years old. The man who did this to her, he was nearly twice her age. And here's the thing that makes this even more devastating, Amanda didn't tell a soul. Not her parents, not her siblings, not her closest friends. Nobody. Can you imagine being 15, dealing with that level of trauma, and having to keep it locked inside while you're suddenly thrust into the spotlight? While you're doing interviews and photo shoots and pretending everything is perfect? The fear, the shame, the confusion, it was eating her alive from the inside. And the worst part? She thought it was her fault. She thought if people found out, it would destroy her career, disappoint her family, ruin everything she had worked for. So she buried it. deep. And that secret, that trauma, it started to change her in ways that nobody could see at first. The bright, bubbly girl that America fell in love with was slowly being consumed by something she couldn't even name. Now here's the thing about trauma, it doesn't just go away because you ignore it. It festers. It grows. It changes how you see yourself and the world around you. Amanda's behavior started to shift in subtle ways. She became more withdrawn between takes. She'd have moments where she'd just zone out, lost in her own head. Her family noticed, but they chalked it up to the pressures of fame. The entertainment industry is tough, right? Especially on young people. But what was really happening was that Amanda was developing coping mechanisms. Unhealthy ones. She started experimenting with drugs and alcohol as a way to numb the pain she couldn't talk about. And because she was a celebrity, because she had money and access, these substances were easy to come by. The tragic irony is that just as her career was reaching its peak, just as she was becoming the face of innocent, all-American teenage romance, she was privately battling demons that would have broken most adults. And still, she told no one. The secret festered for years, shaping every relationship she would have, every decision she would make. So Amanda enters her 20s carrying this massive secret, and it starts to show up in her personal relationships. In the early 1990s, she marries a guy named Joseph Robert Skutvic, and it's a disaster from day one. This relationship was controlling, abusive, and isolating. Now, we know now that people who've experienced sexual trauma often find themselves in abusive relationships later. It's like their normal meter gets completely broken. They don't recognize red flags because they've been conditioned to accept terrible treatment. Amanda's marriage to Skutvic was short-lived, but it did more damage to her already fragile psyche. After that marriage ended, Amanda tried to rebuild. In 1994, she married David Hartley, and this one seemed different. They had 2 kids together, Jonathan in 1997 and Katie in 2000. For a while, it looked like Amanda might have found some stability, some happiness. But that secret, that trauma from when she was 15, it was still there. Still eating away at her. Still affecting every aspect of her life. By 2003, Amanda's mental health was in serious trouble. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and had to be hospitalized several times. Now, there's ongoing debate in the mental health community about whether trauma can trigger bipolar disorder or if people with bipolar disorder are more vulnerable to trauma. Either way, Amanda was dealing with both, and it was devastating. The woman who had once been America's sweetheart was now struggling just to get through each day. She was battling depression, mania, addiction, and underneath it all, that secret from when she was 15 was still poisoning everything. She started getting arrested, drug possession, DUI, you name it. Each arrest made headlines because, well, she was Amanda Peterson from Can't Buy Me Love. The media loved the story of the fallen teen star. But what they didn't know, what nobody knew, was the real reason behind her self-destruction. Amanda wasn't just some celebrity who couldn't handle fame. She wasn't just another cautionary tale about child stars gone wrong. She was a woman who had been carrying an unbearable secret for nearly 2 decades, and it was finally breaking her. The last few years of Amanda's life were really tough to watch. In 2012, her mugshot went viral after another arrest, and the internet was brutal. People were making memes, jokes, comparing her to how she looked in the 80s. It was humiliating and cruel, and it pushed Amanda even deeper into isolation. She was struggling with her health, both mental and physical. She had developed sleep apnea, she was on multiple medications, and she was fighting a losing battle with addiction. Her family was trying to help, but Amanda had built walls that nobody could break through. On July 3, 2015, Amanda Peterson died from an accidental morphine overdose in her home in Greeley, Colorado. She was just 43 years old. The official cause was listed as accidental overdose complicated by sleep apnea and other medications. But here's where the story takes another devastating turn. After Amanda died, her family was going through her belongings, and they found something that changed everything they thought they knew about her struggles. Hidden journals. Letters she had written but never sent. And in those pages, Amanda had finally told her truth. The sexual assault when she was 15. The years of carrying that secret. The way it had shaped every relationship, every decision, every moment of pain she had experienced since. It was all there, written in her own words, the story she could never bring herself to tell while she was alive. So now we know. What destroyed Amanda Peterson wasn't fame, wasn't Hollywood, wasn't even drugs or mental illness directly. It was a secret she carried for 28 years. A trauma she experienced as a child that she never felt safe enough to share with another human being. Think about that for a minute. From age 15 to 43, Amanda Peterson was fighting a war that nobody knew about. She was smiling for cameras, playing the role of America's sweetheart, raising her children, trying to build a life, all while carrying this crushing weight in silence. Her family now understands that every arrest, every hospitalization, every moment of destructive behavior was connected to that one terrible experience when she was just a teenager. It doesn't excuse the pain she caused others, but it explains it. It gives context to a tragedy that seemed senseless. Amanda Peterson wasn't just another cautionary tale about child stars. She was a survivor who fought longer and harder than most people could imagine. She loved her children fiercely. She tried, again and again, to get clean, to get better, to build something positive from the wreckage of her life. But some wounds are too deep, some secrets too heavy. And in the end, the trauma she experienced as a 15-year-old girl finally claimed the life of the 43-year-old woman she had become. You know what gets me about this story? It's not just Amanda's story. How many people are out there right now, carrying secrets that are slowly killing them? How many bright smiles hide devastating pain? How many success stories are actually survival stories that nobody recognizes? It's about a society that makes it so hard for victims to speak up, so hard for people to get the help they need when they're suffering in silence. The next time you see someone struggling, remember that behind every public breakdown is a private pain that might be too heavy for one person to carry alone. Amanda Peterson deserved better. She deserved to get help for her trauma instead of carrying it in silence for nearly 3 decades. If this story moved you, if it opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered before, hit that like button and share it. And hey, if you or someone you know is struggling with trauma or thoughts of self-harm, please reach out for help. There are people who want to listen, who want to help carry that weight. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves out there.